similarity, a parallel course of human evolution throughout the world. We now know that all humans once lived nomadic lives. We gathered wild plants and followed the migrations of animals. Our lives were lived in small bands. Everything was shared. No one had more power or wealth than anyone else. 10,000 years ago, people began to farm and live in permanent settlements. Soon, villages, towns, and cities evolved, and life changed. Thousands lived within city walls. We specialized in a single task and depended on others for everything else we needed. In time, we became divided into rich and poor as our human relationships became ever more complex. Archaeologist William Sanders.
I think all human societies are the product of a process of cultural evolution. In general, this evolution leads to an increase in the size of societies, an increase in the complexity of their interaction and institutions. It also leads to more interdependence, more economic interdependence among households within a society and among societies.
To trace the evolution of human societies in the New World, an archaeological team comes here to Mexico's Tehuacan Valley. The team is led by veteran archaeologist Scotty McNeish. They are seeking evidence of the first inhabitants of the valley. When McNeish first excavated here in 1962, he discovered a time capsule of human occupation at a site called Puron Cave.
Here we are back at Puron Cave, really haven't dug in it in almost 30 years. Walls all preserved. Even the trowel marks we made to mark off strata are still preserved, and we have all sorts of neat floors of charcoal, one on top of the other. The amazing thing about this cave is that we really have unbelievable preservation. The reason we have preservation is it's so dry in this area that the bacteria of decay that destroy things can't live. So anything that's dropped in here, it dries up and dehydrates and lasts forever.
As McNeish dug deep into the cave, traces of an early people emerged from an archaeological stratum he called El Riego.
Here's our El Riego layer, 8,600 years old. Now in it, we not only have a date in terms of the year, but we have some idea of what part of the year. Here are grass seeds that flower and meet fruition, which they brought in here sometime in July and August. We have fruits of Costa Rica that reach fruition October, November. Here's a chupandilla. There's one right in front of the cave that's fruiting right now in mid-November. So, from these plants coming out of this layer, plus the artifactual evidence, it looks very likely that this layer was occupied somewhere between July and November.
In November, the dry season begins. The landscape around Puron becomes a searing desert. There is no water. Even cactus are barren of fruit. During the dry season, the ancient residents must have abandoned Puron Cave to seek water, plants to gather, and animals to hunt. McNeish believes they came here, to another cave that overlooked an oasis, constantly watered by underground springs. Mexican archaeologist Angel Garcia Cook excavated the cave with McNeish. Cook is now director of the Mexican Institute of Archaeology.
Yeah, cave bueno. Yes, el tipo flaco. Yeah.
This projectile point indicates that this cave was occupied at the same time as Puron Cave, about 5,000 BC. Clues to the diet of the cave's ancient residents also began turning up.
Bueno, este es un pedazo de maguey, de agave.
This is a piece of maguey that was cooked over a fire and then chewed. It was a species of cactus that they chewed and then spat out. Sometimes you can see the mark of people's teeth on these quids, so maguey was clearly a part of the diet of the people that came here at a certain season of the year. This is a leaf of nopal cactus, which you can find during all the seasons. But there are times when people eat it more often because there's nothing else to eat.
Nopal still grows just outside the cave. McNeish's workmen remembered droughts when they ate nopal to stave off hunger and thirst. They called the cactus starvation food. So discovering cactus in the cave tells the archaeologists it was occupied during the dry season, when both food and water were scarce.
Otro pedazo. Good, not bad.
La ventaja de esto es que queda la
Needs a little sauce.
pesa afuera.
The most precise evidence that this was a dry season camp is a tiny hollow bone.
This is the bone of a bird, perhaps a duck, which migrates to this region each year only in the winter, during the dry season. All this is evidence of the food that they had in this cave, and indicates that it was occupied in the dry season, in autumn and winter.
Until recently, another living culture was still following a nomadic way of life.